not a YouTuber, just like making videos. And this one I want to talk about, beware of the pro-black panhandlers and so forth. You know, people that want to make a penny off their you know, petty logic. Now let me clarify my stance, what my channel is about. I make videos expressing my ideologies, and I do rebuttals to flawed logic or whatever. You know, go after the white racist bootlickers and so forth. I don't really deviate from that path. That's what people expect from me. That's the reason why people, you know, subscribe to my channel. You know, if all of a sudden I just did a bunch of videos on movie reviews, then I can understand that people want to stop watching. But I never come out and say and tell people, black people, what they should be doing and shouldn't be doing, especially if I'm not doing it myself, especially when I'm not practicing what I preach. See what I mean? Like, my best advice to the black community is vote. Get involved in, you know what I'm saying, your local elections. Vote, you know, when people are running for a new sheriff or a new deputy or judge, you know, vote. You know what I'm saying? Read the newspaper. I'm not saying blacks don't, and I know a lot of older blacks are into it, so I'm not going to try to just marginalize black people and say, hey, you guys need to vote. I know a lot of older black people in the black community, they do read the newspaper and they do vote for the you know what I'm saying, election for the new mayor or whatever. But a lot of young people too. And also make the people at City Hall work. Make them do their job. It's their job to fix your community and so forth. So, you know, you pay taxes. Tell them to fix those potholes going on and so forth. So yeah. So when you get involved in local politics and vote and, you know, show some power, then, you know, but I understand different cities have different politics and so forth. Well, my thing is not to criticize and bash black people and you know, and do a whole lot of finger waving and so forth, because a lot of these guys that do that, you know what I'm saying, that are just speaking this black stuff or whatever, they're not exactly practicing what they preach. I'm like, if you want to talk about they'll talk about spending money in the black community for black-owned businesses, I understand that, but they'll turn around and give the white men their money for a steak and a heartbeat and so forth. Know what I'm saying? Now, I think about now these guys, you know, and you know, the thing is, you know what I'm saying, the reason why, you know what I'm saying, I don't just hammer on the black soul so hard, because black people, we suffer the consequences for our actions. You know, sometimes we're over punished anyway. I'm more worried about the person that goes, that is undisciplined, that goes by unpunished. Now we can talk about big corporate America and so forth. You know what I'm saying, the 1% that is above the law. I understand that, but I do understand that there's white people, even on a lower level, that are just getting a slap on the wrist, not getting much jail time, that won't face the consequences for their actions at the same level a black person does, you know, and so forth. Now, I was arguing with some Ginchi online, and he considered the Black Panthers some sort of extreme terrorist group, even the old Black Panthers. And this was a black guy, and he said, he was like, we were talking about COINTELPRO, and he said that COINTELPRO, also the government also cracked down on the Ku Klux Klan and these, you know, white brotherhood and so forth. And I said that may be true, but do they do it to the level they did it with the Black Panthers? Especially when groups like the Ku Klux Klan have a long track record of, you know what I'm saying, of murder, you know, manslaughter and so forth. I'm like, do you see any videos and pictures of, you know what I'm saying, the FBI or the police going into trailer parks and having these hicks all lined up against the wall or whatever and patted them down. You know, well, with the Black Panthers, you see that. You know what I'm saying? Cops had them all lined up against the wall, even women too, and so forth. So I think they did a pretty piss poor job, you know what I'm saying, in trying to get rid of the Ku Klux Klan and so forth. You know, so, but that's the thing. And I understand now that, you know what I'm saying, white people and how they need these bootlickers. They need these Genshies as attack dogs to argue with themselves. I've rarely come across any white people that wants to be truthful. You know, I was talking to one white dude online, and he was honest. He says, us white people are the apex predator. You know, we come and we conquer, you know, and so forth. You know what I'm saying? We take all the resources for ourselves. You know, we step on people. And even when black people are killing each other, we're going to reap the profits and we're going to reap the benefits from that. At least he was honest. Some of these white people are like, oh, they don't have a good argument because they're not being honest or being honest with themselves. It's like seeing, you know, Khalid Muhammad, you know what I'm saying, having a debate with one of these white guys. You know what I'm saying? These white dudes sound foolish because they can't, you know what I'm saying, they can't be honest with history, with everything on a historical context or context and so forth. Now there's certain questions that whites are simply going to dodge and not answer and not be truthful. So therefore they get these black dudes, these buck dancers and these shoe shiners to do their arguments for them. So I understand why they need it and so forth. And then for them to relieve themselves of guilt, you know, you have these black dudes and they're just going to bash the black. They're going to say it's your fault and so forth and wave their finger. And a lot of these dudes, they don't even take their own advice. You know, they talk about the black family or whatever, the black woman, but they're not even with a black woman. You know, and so forth. They don't even live in a black community, you know. But they want to, you know what I'm saying, point the finger at everyone else, but we don't even know how they're leaving. You know what I'm saying? My thing is show and prove. Now, and the thing is, when it comes to the civil rights leaders, like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, and on how, you know, my thing is, whites in general don't stand them, whether they're liberals or whatever. You know, they call them poverty pimps and race traitors, no, race baiters and so forth. But still, they will side with some Genshi and that they agree with. But this dude is doing the same, you know what I'm saying, has some of the same ideologies. Like they're being poverty pimps and they're being race baiters themselves. But I would say that it's time, when it's time to show and prove, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson did do stuff. Maybe they had a hidden agenda for what they did. For instance, I talked about an animated film called Coonskin. It was dropped in 1976, and it was created by a dude named Jim Balsky or whatever his name was. And it was going to be a theatrical release of a cartoon or whatever of black people being portrayed as animorphs. I'm saying, looking half man, half monkey with aardvark snouts and some shit like that. And you know, and then these people, and it was backed by Universal Studios, and they thought that black people wouldn't get riled up on it because they don't know us. And then a young Al Sharpton stepped onto the scene, and he created some ruckus and got this movie banned, or to the point where Universal Studios didn't even want to touch it, you know, and so forth. And so the producers had to go to another studio, and they wouldn't touch it. Members of the Black Panthers were throwing smoke bomb inside the theaters and so forth. So hence, I can say here, this is something that Al Sharpton did and so forth. Now, white people may say that you know what I'm saying, these guys may make a mountain out of a molehill. But hunts, we have to understand that there's a disconnect between the black community and there's a white community. You know, and you know, there's going to be some sort of friction there, and then you're going to have these guys step up and so forth. You know, I'm like, you know, if white people want to just get rid of the Al Sharptons or whatever, Why don't they come to the black community and ask what's wrong and so forth? But they'll sit back and say, oh, these people, they got it so good and so forth. And I think about the way these black people, especially here on YouTube, because this is just, I'm like, it is just nuts. That they'll sit up there and listen to somebody, you know, bash black people, tell black people what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing and so forth. And it kind of reminds me of the concept of self-flogging, you know that? And in medieval Europe, in some places here to this day, in the Philippines, these Christian nuts or whatever will walk around with whips, and any time that they will have a sinful thought or whatever, or commit a sin, they'll whip themselves, you know, self-flogging and so forth. I can see that, you know what I'm saying, the church, you know, just wave his finger and shame people, like, oh, you people are in sin and whatever, and all this other stuff. And people will just sit there and they'll accept it. And they'll commit to self-flogging if they have to. They'll repent themselves. But there's a time when you got to look at the church, the priest, and look at them and say, now, how dare you cast judgment on us when look what you're doing? And I look at these Genchis on YouTube and how they, you know what I'm saying, just cast judgment on people and telling people what they should and shouldn't be doing. They're not practicing what they preach, and they want a penny for it. I got no problem with somebody wanting to make a nickel. You know, I talk about my hero, Randall Robinson, and I'm meaning to do a video dedicated to him, but I'm going to gather up some more research. I got to make sure it's proper. And that this is a pro-black leader, but he's done stuff. I'm like, he's been to Africa. You know, he helped get, I talked about it, he helped get Nelson Mandela out of jail. I'm saying, he rubbed elbows with Gaddafi and Fidel Castro. You know, I'm like, he meets with a lot of African dignitaries and so forth. And one thing that he did was very important. I don't believe in military intervention. But if there was one time the military intervened in something that was justifiable, was the conflict in Haiti, which a lot of Americans don't even know this. A lot of white Americans don't even. That's the thing. A lot of these pro-American flag waving people don't even know American history themselves. I'm like, it's fucking silly. But in Haiti, you had a guy named Emmanuel Constant. He was backed by the U.S. government. The U.S. government gave him resources, money, and gave him U.S. issued military weapons. And he was poised to win a democratic election and so forth. And he was backed by the USA. But he went up against a dude named Aristide. What the powers to be claimed that Aristide is a dictator. Well, Aristide won the election 97%. It wasn't even close. It was a landslide. Emmanuel Constant, you know what I'm saying, went belligerent. I'm like, he went absolutely apeshit. You know, and his soldiers just started gunning people down. They just took over the government in a total totalitarian rulership and so forth. That's why around 1994 you had a lot of Haitians getting on rafts and trying to come to Florida. You know what I'm saying? More so than usual. And Randall Robinson pleaded with Bill Clinton. He said, hey guy, hey man, you have to, you got to send troops down there to stop this guy. I'm like, you backed Emmanuel Constant and so forth. Now you got to undo what you've done. I'm like, you gave him weapons. So yeah, so President Clinton dropped troops down in there and easily removed this guy from power. Now what's Emmanuel Constant doing nowadays? Guess what? He's living in New York City, from last I've heard, as a real estate agent or whatever, and he's protected by the U.S. government. But you know what I'm saying? He did exactly what the U.S. government wanted him to do and so forth. He followed orders like a good little boy. So that's why, you know what I'm saying, like Saddam Hussein. Yeah, there was a time when America and Saddam Hussein was watching each other's hands, but Saddam Hussein turned on America and mocked 9/11 and so forth. And that's why we had to get him. You know, consider him a terrorist or whatever. Emmanuel Constant's a terrorist. So I'm like, I'm like, that's why people have to do their research. And then when I listen to these bootlickers or whatever, I'm like, man, they're their concept on politics, man, it's all wrong. I'm like, lucky for them, they got a dumb fucking audience. Like, take Tommy Sotomayor. I seen one video where he was talking bad about the progressive movement. He said the progressive movement and all this other stuff. You know, it's talking like, you know, a neocon, you know, the conservatives and you know what I'm saying, these white boys, they hate the progressive movement. But Tommy Sotomayor was silly in saying that because it was the progressive movement that helped get your black ass out of slavery. It was the progressive movement that got that helped release the talons of oppression and Jim Crow laws from black people and so forth. Even though we still got a long way to go, and a lot of our progress is an illusion, but still, I'm like, why didn't he? You know what I'm saying? Why did he say that? You know, a lot of these guys, even if they do have this knowledge, they're going to misuse this knowledge because they know their fan base is, you know what I'm saying, damn near semi-illiterate and don't read up on politics and so forth, don't know world history. So therefore they can slide in and just toss their own rhetoric and their own mumbo jumbo in there and so forth. Now, and also the thing is why I don't criticize black people. You know, I think for a lot of people it's too much to fathom. For, you know, when you look at, you know, black people here in America, where they come from, Africa, they was already here. You're talking about people that were enslaved for 400 years, then went through apartheid, went through oppression, Jim Crow laws. Well, yeah, you can say it's apartheid too. Segregation is the same as apartheid. It's just different words for the same thing. Like here, we call you know what I'm saying, Native American people, we call them Indians. But in Canada, they call them Aboriginals. You know, I was arguing with a Canadian guy. Said, here, we call them Aboriginals. Like, I don't give a fuck what you call them. What about what they call themselves? Because it's a fact, some Native American tribes were, and Canadian tribes, they were the same tribe, particularly the Mohawk tribe. You know, it's just that there was this clear cut, and you know what I'm saying, the Mohawks on the American side were called Indians, the Mohawks on the Canadian side was called Aboriginals. Now, this is a prime example why I am the master debater. I'm sorry, I delve into books and delve into knowledge. I will eviscerate any argument. You know what I'm saying? People are still trying to find loopholes in my argument. I don't brag about myself. That's why it's hard for me to listen to these guys, people clamor to on YouTube, because I personally think I'm smarter than them. I just can't follow a guy that I think I am smarter than. I may not have the best presentation. I may not be a good speaker. I don't rehearse shit. Shit comes off the top of my head just like this video, but I think I'll crush them all in the argument. I read up on politics and all this other stuff. I know about world history, know about African history and all that stuff. So it's just hard for me to really follow somebody or really just be mesmerized by somebody, which I think that either they're dumb or they're just intellectually dishonest or whatever. And I think a lot of these guys are just pushing easy answers because they want to make a penny, they want to make a nickel and so forth. And black people are like rape victims. You see what I mean? Now sometimes, you know, the psychology behind this, that you can almost convince a rape victim that it was their fault that they got raped. So that's the thing with black people. Instead of accusing the rapist, you say, well, it's sort of your fault it happened. You got raped. You know what I mean? Now I gotta understand, for females drunk in the club or whatever, you know, she's taking Molly or whatever, and she's on the club half naked and running around and trying to flirt with every single guy, and she gets manhandled or whatever. You know, but with black people, it's like, imagine a female minding her own business inside her own house, and somebody break into her house and rape them, and then you say, well, it's kind of your fault. You see what I mean? And so therefore, these black people, they become self-loggers. They listen to this rhetoric. They listen to easy answers from these guys that don't. I'm like, these dudes contradict themselves on every level, and they don't show improve and so forth. You know, they're not. You know, Painless Risen is not with a black woman. Tommy Sotomayor is not with a black female. These dudes don't even live in black areas. I don't even. Painless Risen wouldn't even dare step into a black neighborhood and so forth. But you know what I'm saying, they're going to just sit up there and they're like, oh, black people, black people, black people.